Although Abilene Marshal Tom Hill built the house standing here today, it was after he married Molly J. Hauser in 1883 that this house became home. Hill also owned a smaller home into which the newlyweds first moved, renting out this house for extra income. But when Molly gave birth to a daughter, Belle, in 1884, and a son, Harry, in 1885, the family moved into this house. Molly stayed busy tending the house and the children, while Tom spent much of his time in official duties as the elected Marshal of Abilene. Then disaster struck. When Tom died after an accidental shooting in 1886, he was only 32 years old. Serving to compound Molly's misery, her 10-month-old son, Henry, died only 2 months after his father. Molly's mother came to live with Molly and the baby, Belle. Tom had left some financial resources, but the family still had to live frugally. In 1892, 6 years after her husband's death, Molly formally applied for guardianship of Belle. Even though Molly was clearly Belle's mother, the law required formal appointment of guardianship by a judge if a child was to be under the protection of a woman. At that time, Molly also had to ask the court's permission to sell property in Abilene that her husband had purchased. She explained to the judge, "I need the funds to maintain and to educate and to clothe my daughter." The judge granted both guardianship and permission to sell the property. After Molly's mother died in 1900, Molly and Belle continued living in the house together. Neither worked outside the home, and eventually they had difficulty making ends meet. To cover their living expenses, Molly and Belle made greeting cards they sold from door to door and to local merchants. Even with the income from the cards, the women could not keep the house in proper repair. They even had to resort to covering the walls with newspapers in an attempt to keep out the winter wind. After a few decades, the house was in such disrepair that the Hill ladies could not receive guests except in the parlor where they sold their greeting cards. They often went hungry for days. The Hills attended St. Paul's Methodist Church, which was across the street from their house. Soon the women of the church discovered the Hill ladies' plight and brought food and other gifts to them. Molly was too proud to accept this overt charity and refused the gifts. The women of the church eventually prevailed, however, when they simply placed a box of food on the Hill porch each week and left. Molly and Belle took the food. Molly Hill died at the age of 98 in 1952. Belle, never married, remained with her mother till the end. Belle lived another 8 years, passing away in 1960. She was buried next to her mother and father in the Old City Cemetery in Abilene.